Hi there, and welcome to Gimme 2. My name is Mark, and in this video, we're going to discuss inflation in just 2 minutes. As with my other videos, if you're interested in going right to the 2 minutes, which in this case we'll discuss the drivers of inflation, that is timestamped in the description. But if you stick around for a couple of minutes before that, I do go through some context that can add color and description to inflation. Which leads us to the question, what is inflation? So at its simplest, inflation is the sustained increases in the prices of goods and services over time. While a movie ticket may have cost 42 cents in 1945 or a slice of pizza a quarter in 1975, those prices are closer to $10 and $3 today. And these seemingly drastic increases in prices happen gradually over time as prices have inflated. Similarly, the average household income in America was about $3,300 in 1950, but about $67,500 in 2020. Comparing prices from different times is measured in inflation-adjusted or real values. In contrast, receiving a raise at work would be a nominal or non-inflation adjusted raise and might not accurately depict your increase in buying power. If my salary goes up 2%, but inflation, or the cost of living, rises 5%, then I actually lose buying power despite my nominal raise, and my real raise would be negative 3%. Inflation can be complicated to measure, because people buy so many things, and not all of them inflate at the same pace. Food might inflate by 3%, or furniture by 6%, and gas might rise and fall over a certain period. The generally accepted method of measuring inflation is by pricing a basket or compilation of typical consumer goods like groceries, housing, transportation, etc., and comparing that to the same goods at a different period in time. This is called the Consumer Pricing Index, and the percentage change in price over a given time is called inflation. While inflation does indicate a rise in prices doesn't necessarily indicate inflation. Gas, for example, might rise or fall, and certain things are cyclical. Others might temporarily, even drastically, rise due to shortages or supply chain issues, but they might come back down to earth once things settle. These are called supply shocks. There can also be demand shocks, where there are temporary but sudden increases in demand for certain products, which can change those prices. For example, an increase in solar protecting sunglasses during an eclipse, or masks during a pandemic. Prices might also skyrocket due to public hype that drastically increases demand with little to no grounding in reality. Once the hype calms down, those prices tend to crumble. These are called bubbles. Inflation refers to the longer-term rise in prices that you wouldn't typically expect to reverse itself, although there are certainly deflationary economies as well. Now that we understand what inflation is, and maybe certain things that look like inflation, let's get to the underlying reasons that inflation actually occurs. And we'll do that with the 2 minutes starting now. At its most fundamental, the money supply and the total goods and services, called gross domestic product, should be equal. If GDP increases faster than the money supply, then each dollar can buy more. And if the money supply increases faster than the GDP, then each dollar can buy less and prices inflate. In extreme cases, low production, high government spending, insufficient taxation, and debt repayment can spiral out of control, resulting in extreme money supply expansion to cover government shortfalls. This severely devalues currencies in what is called hyperinflation. Inflation can also be nudged when society's demand grows faster than its supply, causing more dollars to chase fewer goods. This is called demand pull inflation. This typically happens in healthy economies with high disposable income or high government spending. Price increases for key resources are also typically passed from providers to consumers in what is called cost-push inflation. This can occur with supply shortages, like following a disaster, or with wage increases. While often catalysts for inflation, these are usually seen as shorter-term price changes. Moderate inflation can stimulate production and therefore economic expansion, as people try to buy at lower prices. When prices rise faster than demand, however, spending and therefore production can slow. If significant enough, we call this a recession. To attempt keeping inflation moderate, central banks both manipulate the money supply and adjust the cost of borrowing money. Lower interest rates, or borrowing costs, leads to higher spending, driving demand and therefore prices up. And higher interest rates can have the opposite effect, curbing inflation. I hope you enjoyed that video. I learned a lot researching this topic, and I hope you did hearing me deliver it. If you did, please consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, commenting, sharing, all of those good things that allows videos like these to reach wider audiences, and I hope to see you in another video. Thanks so much for watching.